So, hello, welcome to the video. I'm me. So, I'm gonna talk about books and I'm gonna talk about books in the future. In today's video, I'm gonna talk about a specific author that made me fall in love with reading. I just noticed that my shirt is backwards. Okay, so this video, I'm gonna talk about the author named Mitch Albom. He is one of my favorite authors ever. This video is I'm gonna explain it why. What? Is that even a grammar? Today I'm gonna talk about Mitch Albom and why he is one of my favorite authors ever. Mitch Albom has been a famous author. He is a famous author in the modern times. Do people say that in the modern times? So in recent years, I think Mitch Albom can be said that he earned success in his books. He is now famous and a lot of people like him. A lot of people on the internet, at least from what I've heard, likes him as an author because of how simple and easy and meaningful his books are. So that's basically like the gist of it. But I want to talk about like a few points on why me personally I love him as an author and how he made me love reading as a whole. So let's start on how I discovered him. I discovered him in a book called Tuesdays with Maury. I think a lot of people have discovered him through this book because this is a famous book now and I think it's considered by a lot of people as classic. Yeah, so I discovered him here and I read through this. I think this is one of the first books that I've ever read. How simple his writing was. Even though I wasn't a reader much back then, I wasn't a novel reader. I didn't read novels. I think they were too long. Even the shortest books are too long. But I think Mitch Albom kept me from not reading that, kept me from continue on reading because I actually like his writing style. I actually like how he portrays human characters. But I'm gonna get onto that. So next book that I saw on a random bookstore is For One More Day. I read the premise at the back and it's kind of vague. It's really vague if this is non-fiction because I think Tuesdays with Maury borders on non-fiction because it is kind of a memoir. But this book is different. It's kind of a fictional book. I think this book changed my perception on his writing since I didn't know that he could write like surrealism. I can't describe it in one word, but that's the word that I can describe it as, which is surrealism, because he takes surreal moments, kind of like a surreal painting, and puts them in the pages of this book. And I actually really love this. Obviously, I wanted to pick up another book, pick up one of his books again. So I picked this up, and then I pick up another book, and then another one, then another one. So it's safe to say that he is one of my favorite authors ever. This video, I'm gonna expand on why I love him. I made a lot of people nervous by doing that. Don't worry, they're fine. Here's the first point that I want to make. His page count. I think it's a simple thing for a lot of people to say yes or no to a book because not a lot of people have time anymore. A lot of us are busy. A lot of us are busy with school or work or anything else. Or we don't really have enough time to read like a book that's like 500 pages long, even like 400 pages long. Mitch Albom's page count is less than 200 pages. I think a lot of his books are less than 200 pages long. I know that's a simple thing, but I think that can be a criteria on do I want to pick up this book? Do I want to commit on something? There are so many book series out there that have thousands and thousands of pages that a lot of people don't really have time. With Mitch Albom books, a lot of his books are one-off and their page count are relatively lower than other authors' page count. And you don't need a lot of dedication to that. With the page count being so low, I think how he writes them, how every single detail in his book actually matters in the end, in the conclusion, in the climax. And that's where my second point comes on, which is his writing style. His writing style, for me, feels like poetry. feels like a storytelling based poetry, in that things rhyme, in that things make sense with each other. They complement each other. But his writing style is very, very simple. If you know simple English, if you know simple like American English, just his overall writing style is very understandable and very accessible to a lot of people that wants to get into reading. Wow! I didn't know how I could speak that fast. If you've read at least one of his books, you can see why I compare it to poetry, or you can see why I say that it rhymes. It makes sense. All the different details, because of how he writes his stories, make sense in the end. With that kind of writing style, his morals and lessons and messages that he wants to portray, he can absolutely say it even if you don't think deep enough. The messages of his book could be taken face value because of how simple his writing style is. And so that's the next point, which is the message. The messages, the morals, and what he is trying to tell with these stories. A lot of authors tend to want to say more under their text. I think a lot of authors. Wait, am I recording still? Okay, I'm recording still. I think a lot of authors have a lot of hidden meanings in their writings, have a lot of metaphors. I really shouldn't compare authors, but I just wanted to say that Mitch Albom, you can take his books on face value. You can take his books as what they are and not look deep into them before you can even know what the message he is trying to tell. The morals and the things that he wants to say to the readers, to his audience, is very clear in the pages. You don't need to dig deep to actually understand his stories. And that's not a bad thing. A lot of people don't like that. That's fine. Different people, different preferences. But me, personally, I really like his writing style in that you can take it face value and you can take something out of it. With these messages, I think his books shine in that these are simple messages. These are messages about people, about individuals, and about humanity as a whole. Which brings me to my next point, which is the humanity in his stories. I think him capturing individual people and making them feel different and making them feel like they're humans and making them feel like they could just be walking amongst us. It's just very beautiful. I think he writes people in a way that it is very positive. A lot of his characters can be said as, oh, they're too positive or they're too like optimistic. And I can understand that. But there are characters that suffer from like actual depression or like actual mental illnesses. He does address it, but he addresses it subtly because he wants to create a positive message and the positive message about people. I think that's actually a good message to tell right now. I think that's actually a good message to portray right now, especially in the state of a lot of people. In that we need that kind of positivity. We need that kind of positive ending, or everything works out, or everything concludes in a nice bow. He creates stories that are very human, that are very optimistic on what people can do. At least in the end, their conclusions feel like it's earned and feels like there's hope. I think he exudes hope in these characters, and I like that. I really like how simple that is. With his simple writing style, with his simple messages, with such a short page count, I think he captures that humanity. He captures that hope in people to be better, the hope in people to be optimistic, and just the overall hope for humanity that there's still some good in us. There, that even though life gave us the lowest of lows, we can still be hopeful. I think that's a great message, even though it's very simple, and a lot of us have already heard that, but I think most of his books talks about that kind of hope. It's very simple, yet it's very effective to enlighten people. Sometimes that's all we need. Sometimes That kind of messages in stories is all we need for us to move forward. And I really like that. I think what I'm trying to say is that Mitch Albom as an author is very simple. His stories are simple, his writing style is simple, his messages and what he's trying to portray to people is simple. Sometimes those simple things are enough to make us feel happy, to make us feel hope. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Try to support other booktubers. There's many. And try to support authors that you love. That's it. Bye bye.